Zoom, but also because I think that the very fact that we are here, it's like a small victory upon soldier reality. We are continuing our lives and our academic life and our free thoughts without regarding less all what's happening around us. So this is it, and I think that we really deserve a great, great chapeau. Today we are going to deal with unarmed resistance of women during the Holocaust, and we have three distinguished scholars, very good friends of WISC, and I'm sure that we are going to have a great evening. Each speaker is going to have 20 minutes, no more, and please don't let me be naughty and remind you to stop, be disciplined. And of course, at the end of the third discussion, the third presentation, we are going to have our discussion. So if you have questions, please use a piece of paper, write it down, and at the end, we are going to have all our questions and discussion and whatever. I'm very delighted to present our first speaker, Dr. Martyna Grądzka-Rejak. Hopefully, with my Hungarian accent, I did not mispronounce your name. Martyna is an historian and educator, graduated of the Institute of History of the Pedagogical University in Kraków and the Department of Jewish Studies at the Jagiellonian University at Kraków as well. Currently, she's working in the Warsaw Ghetto Museum and at the Historical Research Office of the Institute of National Remembrance. Her research focuses on the history of culture of Polish Jews, especially the Holocaust and wartime, experiences of Jewish women and families. She conducted her researches in the USA, in Israel and Germany and Poland, and she had many rewards as well as publications. Dr. Martyna will speak tonight about who will tell our story, the heroines of the Eagle Pharmacy in Kraków Ghetto. Dear Martyna, the floor is yours.
First of all, I would like to say thank you for the invitation. And let me take a second to share my screen. I hope I will be able to do it quickly. Is it working?
Yeah.
But you have to enlarge your presentation.
Isn't it working now?
Close it and go and share again. Oh,
Now it's working.
Yeah, we can see it. What's
it's
the
not
problem?
large. It's not large enough.
Play. You need to play the slide program.
Yeah.
You have to click on slide program, whatever that is in Hungarian.
Is it working now?
Polish.
In Polish.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's me, the Hungarian
Right.
with the Hungarian accent. It's me.
Oh,
it's
okay.
working now?
No, never mind. Go ahead. Never mind.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not so good with this computer. As I said before, this is my husband's laptop, so I'm not an expert.
It's okay.
Anyway, today I have the privilege to say a few words about three women working in the Eagle Pharmacy in Kraków Ghetto. Actually, it's a part of my broader research, which are still ongoing. And together with my colleague, Dr. Alicja Jarkowska, also from Kraków, we are now working on a comprehensive monography of Kraków Ghetto. And obviously, the story of women from the Eagle Pharmacy will be part of the chapter devoted to civil or unarmed resistance in the ghetto. And one comment before I start my presentation. During my talk, you will be you'll have this opportunity to see pictures. Those are mostly photos taken during World War II in the Krakow ghetto. We don't know exactly which date the pictures were taken, but as far as I know, the memoirs of Pankiewicz, and as far as I saw those pictures and I can read from them, I assume it was late spring 1942, just before the massive deportation to the death camp in Bełżec started. So I assume it was late May 1942. And all of those pictures are in possession of Kraków Historical Museum. Let me start with a quotation. My memoirs I dedicate to my collaborators, pharmacist Irena Droździkowska, Helena Krywaniuk, and Aurelia Danek-Czortkowa, who throughout the entire existence of the Krakow ghetto risked their lives to help its inhabitants. This is how Tadeusz Pankiewicz, the owner of the Eagle Pharmacy, dedicated his post-war memoirs on the pharmacy operation in the Krakow ghetto. A few words about the place. The Eagle Pharmacy, as you can see on the top of the presentation, this is the contemporary look, now located at the 18 Heroes of the Ghetto Square in Krakow, is more than 100 years old. It was owned by Józef Pankiewicz since 1909, and after him, his son Tadeusz, who managed this place from 1934. Before the war, the pharmacy, one on only 4 in the Podgórze neighborhood, this is this part located on the opposite side of the Vistula River from the traditional Jewish district Kazimierz in Kraków, the pharmacy served both Jewish and Polish residents of the area. Among its clients was the charitable society Bikur Cholim, for example, which provided care for the sick members of the Jewish community in Podgórze neighborhood. And on the bottom, you can see the sort of view from the pharmacy through the windows. And this is exactly the Krakow's Umschlagplatz, the Zgody Square in Krakow ghetto. In March 1941, when the Germans established the ghetto, Pankiewicz Pharmacy became the only one located within its boundaries. And if you look yes.
Martina, your slides aren't moving forward.
Okay. Is it
Martina, just click down, like you're right. Okay.
Here
Yes,
we are.
just
Each
like
time
this.
you change it, click on the slide.
Yes.
It's working now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you have to click each time, Martina, on the slide because you don't have it because of the way you have it set up here. So when you change a slide, move down to the slide.
Okay.
Click
So
on it, and then-
can you see the map right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so on the map you can see the A letter on the top. And this is Platz Zgody, the Zgody Square. And on the corner of this square, the pharmacy, which I'm mentioning, was located. It was the only place run by a Pole and employing Polish staff in the ghetto. The ghetto soon became home to over 18,000 Jews and was a place of unimaginable suffering. The Nazi occupiers subjected its residents to forced labor, overcrowding, and violence. The Eagle Pharmacy quickly became a special meeting place for the ghetto's elite. The Jewish who lived in the ghetto chose the pharmacy as the place for conspirational meetings. Among them were mostly male prisoners of the ghetto, like Mordechai Gebirtik, the famous poet painter Abraham Neumann, or the doctors like Julian Aleksandrowicz, Bernhard Bornstein, Leon Steinberg, and other pharmacists, Jewish pharmacists from the ghetto, like, for example, Roman Immerglik. People came to the pharmacy to read newspapers which were brought from the so-called Aryan side by the employees of a pharmacy, to discuss on the latest war reports, or simply discuss about the future. In post-war recollection, it was even referred to as an embassy, treated almost as an exterritorial part of the ghetto, where one could feel a bit freer than in other ghetto areas. The pharmacy staff helped create the special atmosphere. Pankiewicz and his female employees were granted special permission to enter and leave the ghetto, both during the day and at night. Pankiewicz mostly stayed overnight at the ghetto, while Irena, Aurelia, and Helena, which is very important, came daily from the so-called Aryan side. Can you see the next slide?
Click on this on the slide. Number 5. Yeah.
Yes, it's working?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see the members of the staff on those pictures taken exactly in May 1942. And on the next slide, you will see this document above. This is this permission which enabled here Pankiewicz, but also to other employees of the pharmacy to enter the ghetto. After the deportation in June 1942, they had to make an effort and to prolong this permission every few weeks. As I mentioned, alongside Tadeusz Pankiewicz, Irena, Helena, and Aurelia, all of them on the pictures, played a key role in the heroic efforts during the occupation. Pankiewicz's memoir highlights the extraordinary courage and dedication of his female colleagues in aiding persecuted Jews. The Eagle Pharmacy became not only a center for medical aid, but also a safe space for organizing underground civil resistance efforts. Its role as a hub for both physical and emotional support made it one of the most important locations within the ghetto walls, and therefore the most recollected after the war in the post-war memories. Because Tadeusz Pankiewicz was the pharmacy's owner and later wrote a comprehensive memoir, he is the most frequently mentioned in this context. Although he worked together with 3 female colleagues, their contributions often remained in the background, serving as an addition to the broader narrative of the Eagle Pharmacy, as a site of resistance and aid. Irena, Helena, and Aurelia did not leave behind any known or published memoirs, only a few testimonies, mostly in post-war trials and investigations related to crimes they witnessed. As a result, their voices, feelings, emotions, their point of view remained largely unheard. Likewise, they are absent from many post-war survivor accounts, while at the same time Pankiewicz's roles remain at the forefront. So, the heroines, who they were. If I may say like this, the oldest, the more experienced among the 3 of them was Irena Droździkowska. She was born in 1913 in pre-World War I Kraków, which was then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In the 1930s, she pursued a career in pharmacy, earning a degree from the Jagiellonian University in Kraków in the 1935. Until 1st September 1939, she worked in the Mariańska pharmacy in Rybnik. Rybnik at that time and also today is a Silesian region. Soon, she resolved to terminate the contract, seeing how extremely enthusiastic members of this pharmacy staff were regarding to the entry of the Germans to Poland. She returned to Kraków. At that time, she didn't know Tadeusz Pankiewicz, who, just like many other men in the city, decided to escape in early September to the east after the Germans had entered the city. He reached Lwów, but in November 1939, he was back in Kraków. Then Irena was already working in the Eagle Pharmacy. On 10th of September, upon the request of the Pankiewicz family who knew her from the circle of Kraków pharmacists, she reopened the pharmacy, which had been closed from the onset of the war, and ran it until the return of Tadeusz. Later, Tadeusz and Irena became very close friends. Irena Droździkowska, and later on also her colleagues, bore witness to the horrors inflicted upon ghetto inhabitants. She was there from the very beginning. She saw firsthand the brutal treatment of Jews by the Germans, including forced labor, beatings, and later systematic deportation of individuals, first to labor camps and later on to the death camps. These atrocities deeply affected her, strengthening her resolve to help those who were suffering. Droździkowska, first and later together with her co-workers, smuggled food, medicine, and essential supplies into the ghetto. She also provided shelter and created hidden spaces to protect individuals from the authorities. In addition to offering medical care, Drzeżdżikowska and her team facilitated communication to deliver letters between family members inside and outside the ghetto. Since June 1942, when the Great Deportation to Bełżec started, she also began supplying ghetto residents with substances and medications that help them avoid deportation, such as hair dye to make them appear younger, and luminal, which was used to calm children hidden in shelters or smuggled out of the ghetto in luggage. Throughout time, Irena lived in constant danger, knowing that aiding Jews could result in death penalty. The actions of Drzeżdżikowska and her colleagues were not only acts of defiance against the Nazi regime, but also a very powerful expression of humanity in face of unimaginable cruelty. She stayed in the ghetto until 13th of March 1943. This is until the final liquidation. She also supported Pankiewicz in his efforts after the ghetto was liquidated, but still enclosed and not able to enter. Irena Drzeżdżikowska continued to work at the Eagle Pharmacy until 1951. This is the date when the pharmacy was nationalized by the Polish state. Over the years, she became an integral part of the community, not only through her professional duties, but also through her brave efforts to resist the Nazis and help those in need. Her legacy remains an inspiring example of personal courage, compassion, and resilience during one of the darkest periods in history. Irena passed away in 1994. She never considered herself as a hero. The second one in my story is Aurelia Danek-Czort. She was born in Krakow in November 7, 1916, so during World War I. In the interwar period, she began pursuing a degree in pharmacy, also at the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. This happened in 1936. This aspiration was abruptly interrupted by the outbreak of World War II. When the German Wehrmacht invaded Kraków of September 6, 1939, she was forced to abandon her studies due to the harsh restrictions placed on Polish citizens under Nazi occupation. Like many others, her future plans and ambitions were thrown into uncertainty as the city and country fell under German control. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Aurelia did not abandon her desire to help others. In July 1941, recommended by Irena Drzeżdżikowska, who already knew her and considered as trustworthy person, she secured a position at Pankiewicz Pharmacy. At that time, the ghetto had already existed for 3 months. Alongside her Polish colleague at the pharmacy, Aurelia chose to risk her life to help persecuted Jews. During the deportation to Bełżec camp in June 1942, Aurelia provided vital medical assistance to ghetto inhabitants, supplying them with medication and treatments to ease their suffering. Pharmacy personnel issued free medicines and dressing, while some rooms of the building areas were also used as shelters for saving Jews from the deportation to extermination camps. She helped secure forged documents, allowing some individuals to escape or evade detection by Nazi authorities. Knowing that survival often depends on secrecy and ability to move undetected, her ability to procure false papers was a critical lifeline for many. Aurelia also smuggled items out of the ghetto, exchanging them for food and supplies desperately needed by those inside. She became an integral part of the network, working tirelessly to resist the dehumanization of the Jewish population. Most likely, that was the Aurelia who transported one of the Torah scrolls stored by Pankiewicz outside of the ghetto. She did it on a children's scooter, carrying the precious scroll in a travel bag through one of the ghetto gates, while Helena and Irena supported her and distracted the attention of the guards, engaging them in a conversation with young and attractive women. One of Aurelia's most important contributions was her role in maintaining communication between ghetto residents and their friends or family members hidden outside. She discreetly passed on letters, messages, and vital information, ensuring that people remained connected and informed about each other's fates. In a time of forced isolation and despair, this simple act of preserving human connection was a form of resistance in itself, a defiant stand against the Nazi regime's effort to sewer bonds between individuals and communities. Aurelia's work did not end with the liquidation of the ghetto. She tried to support Jews whom she knew they went into hiding on the so-called Aryan side in Krakow or in Krakow's area. After the war, she resumed her interrupted studies, finished it in 1947, and continued her career in pharmacy. She stopped working in the Eagle Pharmacy in 1945. She retired in 1977 and passed away in Kraków in 1995. The youngest of my three heroines was Helena Krywaniuk, who was born in Kraków on August 8, 1918, shortly before the end of World War I. She was a young woman living in Kraków when the German Wehrmacht invaded Poland in September 1939, marking the beginning of the occupation. As a result of the war, Helena, like Aurelia, was forced to abandon her pharmacy studies, a dream she had been working toward before the outbreak of the conflict. However, despite these devastating circumstances, her determination remained strong. In December 1941, as the last one, she secured an internship at the Eagle Pharmacy. Like Aurelia before, she was also recommended by Irena Drozdikowska, whom considered her as a trustworthy person. She knew and was aware of the place where she would be working. Helena also provided medicine and food to those in need, knowing these supplies could mean the difference between life and death. She and her colleagues also played a critical role in maintaining communication between ghetto inmates and their families hiding outside. She discreetly delivered messages and letters, enabling the exchange of vital information between loved ones. Also, Helena helped obtain forged documents, essential for those seeking to escape the ghetto or avoid detection by Nazi authorities. She also passed on crucial information, including intelligence, on Nazi movement and the fate of others, further strengthening the solidarity of the resistance inside and outside the ghetto. She stayed at the Kraków ghetto until it was finally liquidated in March 1943, with its Jewish inhabitants being deported to labor concentration camps or executed. After the war, Helena resumed her pharmacy studies. She finished it in 1947 and went on to build a professional career. She continued working in Eagle Pharmacy until 1951. Helena Krywaniuk actions during the war are a testament to the power of compassion and the importance of standing against oppression, even at great personal risk. Her work at the Eagle Pharmacy remains an enduring part of the larger resistance movement that provided both medical care and critical support to those fighting for survival in the ghetto. Helena passed away in Kraków in 1994. To sum up, Tadeusz Pankiewicz was awarded, as you may see on this postcard, the Righteous Among the Nation title on February 10, 1983, in recognition of his effort to help and save Jews during the Holocaust. This was largely due to the efforts of one of the survivors, Irena Halpern, who was smuggled out of the ghetto through the pharmacy building and with the great support of the staff of the Eagle Pharmacy. Yet, 80 years after World War II, the three heroines of the Eagle Pharmacy still remain in the shadows. Irena, Aurelia, and Helena shared a deep commitment to helping those persecuted by Nazi regime, risking their lives daily to provide medical care, food, supplies, forged documents, and emotional support to some members of the Jewish community inside the Kraków ghetto. Their work in maintaining communication between the ghetto's residents and their friends and families and smuggling vital resources was important for survival. Despite the personal danger, they each displayed immense courage, compassion, dedication, making their contribution an enduring testament to the power of humanity in face of inhumanity. Nevertheless, the marginalization of women's perspective in existing research of World War II and on the Holocaust in occupied Kraków is not an isolated phenomenon. Historian Michel Perrault, like many other historians, has observed that when the presence of women in history is acknowledged, it is often discussed in a vague and superficial manner. However, as the stories of three women illustrate, the history of Eagle Pharmacy and its role in aiding Jews take on a new dimension when viewed through the lenses of women's experience and their contribution. What more can we uncover from the few memories that mention these brave women and the support they provided to those imprisoned in the Kraków ghetto? After so many years, can their stories, emotions, feelings, their view, can be fully reconstructed and told? And will their courage and sacrifices one day be honored with the Righteous Among the Nation titles? I leave this question unanswered, at least for now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very, very much. It was really enchanting and very important indeed. And we are going to go back with questions and discussion later on. Now we are going to listen to Dr. Lillian Steiner. Dr. Lillian Steiner is teaching in Hemdat Academic College of Education in Israel. She has her PhD in comparative literature from Bar-Ilan University, and she is a senior lecturer. Dr. Steiner focuses in her studies in comparative literature, gender studies, Holocaust studies, children literature, philosophy, and language. She's also serving as the M-Teach program head in her college, Hemdat Darom College in Israel. She's also a fellow in the Arnold and Leonard Winkler Institute of Holocaust Research in Bar-Ilan University. Dr. Steiner is going to present us her study on Germaine Tillon, and it's called The Art of Overcoming Hell. Dear Lillian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will share my presentation in a minute. Can you see it?
Not yet. Yes.
Now?
Yes, we can.
It works. Good. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
You have to enlarge it, Lillian.
Really? Just a minute. I don't know what's the matter, but okay.
I think it was okay. We could see it.
And now?
Now we have nothing.
Yes.
There.
Perfect.
Yes, super.
And it
Perfect.
okay. All right. Okay. I'm delighted to share with you a unique piece of history, or rather her story, and I refer to Germaine Tillon's story, who was a very talented and courageous resistance fighter who had recourse to art to resist the Nazis. Here she is when she was young, and let's get to know her. Okay, Germaine Tillon was a remarkable French woman who faced one of history's darkest chapters with resilience, intellect, and defiance. Ethnologists French resistance fighter and later a historian of evil, Tillon was arrested in August 1942, turned in by a priest who had once been a trusted ally. The first act of resistance was to give her family's ID cards to a Jewish family. Germaine Tillon was a member of one of the first resistance groups in France, the Musée de l'Homme resistance movement, established in 1940 around its founders, including the linguist and escaped prisoner Boris Videt, who was hidden in the museum. Germaine Tillon took charge of the Musée de l'Homme resistance network. It's important to note that her mother, Émilie Tillon, was also a resistance fighter, and unfortunately, she was a guest in March 1945 in Ravensbrück, and she was 69 years old. Germaine Tillon was deported to Ravensbrück in October 1943. Tillon and her convoy companions are shunned by the incredible reality of so many horrors. The undeniable and overwhelming evidence of his hell appears almost inconceivable. It inflicts such a profound psychological shock, so violent that it was enough to kill. To quote Tillon, that many choose to seek refuge in denial, rejecting this unbearable reality. Far from letting herself be defeated, Germaine Tillon drew her strength from a willingness to resort to action because she believes fear paralyzes, threats stimulate. Germaine Tillon uses her education and professional skills and manages to step back, to place herself at a healthy distance from the monstrous facts in the position of an objective observant ethnologist determined to understand in search of a possible meaning to this incredible reality. This confidence in the effectiveness of the method gave her the strength to observe in order to dismantle the extraordinary mechanism of dehumanizing captive women before exterminating them. Germaine Tillon benefits her companions and gives them an academic talk in March about the rational of the irrational world they are trapped in. She believes that knowing helps you live. While in Ravensbrück, Germaine Tillon worked to gather evidence about life and death in the camp, including scientific experiments on co-detainees, and she analyzed the economic exploitation of the prisoners in the concentration camp system. In 1946, Tillon published her testimony and analysis about Ravensbrück in the text entitled À la recherche de la vérité in Ravensbrück, Neuchâtel, Cahiers du Rhône, which was reworked and expanded by Tillon herself in 1973 and later in 1988. In 1944, Germaine Tillon decides to write the operetta, verfügbar, aux enfers, when she writes, when the autumn of 1944 arrived, all the French verfügbaren became longshoremen in the commando for unloading trains, and it was there that, hidden in a packing box by my NN Nartenebel comrades, I wrote a review in the form of an operetta called Le verfügbar aux enfers, and it took her 10 days to write this operetta. Tillon wrote the operetta to uplift the spirits of her comrades. In 1944, the general condition of the girls was deteriorating, and she decided to have them bear their lot. Germaine Tillon hid the operetta in the ceiling of her barrack by removing a board just above the third level of the bedstead they occupied. They would read the operetta in the evening, and it would make them laugh. Some girls sang the songs according to the tune they chose. There were about 13 girls who cooperated in this activity. Here, and I hope it will work, I want to show you the manuscript. Can you see it? I share.
We see only the link. We see only the link.
Only the link?
Yes, to YouTube.
Caché.
Oh.
Le verfügbar aux enfers, conçu en 3 actes, est un ensemble de textes témoignant des dures conditions de vie des déportés, la dérision et l'humour noir se greffant sur les airs populaires.
I'm sorry. Just a minute.
Effectivement, la dérision est extrême et c'est très important, cette dérision dans l'univers concentrationnel. C'est un ton très nouveau, très étrange, et c'est ce qui fait de ce manuscrit un document très insolite par rapport à ce qu'on a pu lire sur la déportation.
You can stop it and share again.
Yes, I'm trying to stop it.
Les déportés soumis aux corvées et brimades parce qu'elles refusent le travail.
C'est comme ça
Now we can hear it.
Yes. But I have to stop it.
Les jeunes verfügbar, ce sont les femmes qui viennent d'arriver. Les vieilles verfügbar, ce sont celles qui sont là depuis un an, et qui ont l'expérience du camp. Et elles transmettent à celles qui arrivent tous les dangers, tout ce qu'il ne faut pas faire, tout ce qu'il faut.
Try just to stop it.
I'm trying to stop it.
De Germaine.
Just a minute.
Go back to your presentation and click
Yes.
and click to the next slide.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. It worked very well many times, but I will share again. Just a minute. But at least you've heard a little bit. Okay, I'm sharing it. All right, can you see the slide?
We see the text.
Which one? Le verfügbar aux enfers?
No.
No. Well, I'm sorry.
So maybe you just can go on with your presentation without it.
Without sharing?
Yeah?
I try once again. I think that you see now.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I want to focus on the title first, Le verfügbar aux enfers. Germaine Tillon uses le, which is a masculine article, instead of la in French, because she wanted to stress the gradual transformation of a feminine body into a less feminine, skeletal body deprived of any feminine traits that ends up, as Germaine Tillon defines, a neutral woman. The verfügbar in German means available, and it refers to the worst category of prisoners who were assigned the worst chores in the camps. Germaine Tillon was inspired by Orphée aux Enfers by Offenbach, Jacques Offenbach. This opera was a comic opera, in French, opéra bouffon, And it was written by Hector Crémieux and Ludovic Halevi. Jacques Offenbach wrote the music. It was a well-known opera, all right? And I will talk later about this fact. Now I want to move. I move to the next slide. Can you see it? The art of overcoming hell.
Overcoming hell.
Oh, great. Okay. Germain Dion did not choose the form of this operetta at random. It voluntarily revives the tradition of impertinence and transgression. By choosing lightness and music, she literally thumbs her nose at the Nazis. She chooses a form that, taken from the past, has made it possible to defy authority, disrupt conventions, and overturn established norms. Le verfügbar aux enfers, or the verfügbar in the underworld, is presented under the form of a scientific lecture given by the naturalist. It is an operetta in 3 acts, without a subdivision of scenes, written in prose, preceded by a prologue in 15 Alexandrines, addressed to the audience to warn them of the purpose of a show. The body of the text is in the form of dialogue passages interspersed with 26 songs unevenly distributed. The acts become shorter and the songs become rarer and shorter. Act 1, for example, Spring, is composed of 52 pages and 15 songs. Act 2, Summer, is composed of 35 pages and 8 songs, and Act 3, Winter, 13 pages and 3 songs. The cast seems at first to respect the rules of ancient Greek theater, a talking protagonist, the naturalist, the singing chorus, the verfügbar chorus. The verfügbar are all identified by the name as resistance fighters, like Ninette, Rosine, Dédé de Paris, Sissi, etc. This strategy was meant to subvert and defy the Nazis' plan of depersonalization and dehumanization. Here I brought you a song. I had a big house, j'avais une grande maison, sang by Ninette.
Can we listen to some of the music because we are running out of time?
No. Okay, I'm moving to the next, but okay, to the next slide. The verfügbar. In the verfügbar, Germaine Clion portrayed her companions and described life in the camp, using a self-reflexive, sarcastic analysis to resist victimization and combat despair. The naturalist, the only male character in the text, a cross between a Gestapo member and a resistance member, is studying a new species with the verfügbar. The project was partly collective. Germaine Clion asked her comrades to help find the right melodies for the songs. The vocal parts are introduced by the words to the tune of. Refusing any form of victimization and sentimentality, Tillon posits humor as one of the values of her resistance. Laughter allows us to create a supportive community, she believes, which is in itself a factor in survival. Germaine Tillon uses self-mockery as a force of reaction and thus affirms a victory of thought over brute force.
Can you sum up, please?
Okay. All right. I just wanted to sing a short song. Is it possible?
Yes, please.
Okay. It is this song is very well known. The tune is very well known, a very well known song. It goes like that. Here we have the English translation. All right, it goes like that. Notre sexe à pile était réputé, aujourd'hui sa pile est bien déchargée. Mon ampoule est morte, je n'ai plus de feu. Ouvrez-nous la porte pour l'amour de Dieu.
Wow.
And
Wow.
here I brought you another song. The road is long, long, long. La route est longue, long, long. It goes like that. And to sum up, okay, resistance didn't stop at the gates of prisons and concentration camps. The operetta was written as an act of intellectual resistance, using humor and satire to preserve dignity and morale among prisoners. By framing the operetta as a mock scientific lecture about the verfügbar, Pion highlights the absurdity of Nazi ideology and the cruelty of the concentration camp system. The operetta is also a mise en abîme of a scientific talk Pion gave the companions in March 1944, combined with humor and derision. The operetta emphasizes the importance of sisterhood, friendship, and mutual support among the detainees, showing how shared humor and creativity helped them endure suffering. The operetta draws on classical mythology, opera, and scientific discourse, demonstrating through intertextuality how literature and culture can be tools of resilience.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. And really, it's an interesting insight to something that we usually are very unfamiliar, connected to female resistance during the Holocaust. Our last but not least, of course, speaker for today is Dr. Rachel Perry. Dr. Rachel Perry received her doctorate in Art of History at Harvard University, specializing in art in France during the occupation and recognition. Since making Aliyah, she has taught at the International School of Holocaust Studies at Yad Vashem, Tel Aviv University, and in the Weiss Levin grad program in Holocaust Studies at Haifa University. Dr. Perry is currently a scholar in residence in the Hadassah-Brandeis Institute, writing a manuscript on Holocaust graphic albums. Dr. Perry is going to speak today about Drawn Out of Horror, graphic narratives by Jewish women during the Holocaust. And of course, I didn't mention both our speakers, Dr. Steiner as well as Dr. Perry, have published many articles and books on these issues. So, Rachel, we are all yours.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a part of an article that is going to be published. Oh, goodness, I don't have, yeah, there we go. Part of an article that's going to be published next month, an essay in a collection called The Story's Not Over, which is about Jewish women and their representation in graphic narratives. And what I was interested in is really the prehistory of the graphic novel or the graphic narrative as a genre. And so I started with this question, did Jewish women create these kinds of images and objects during the Holocaust? Where and when and with what significance? So I'll start with this work. In the summer of 1941, a young Jewish German woman created a small booklet in the Gurs internment camp entitled How It Is, But How It Should Be, Gurs in Rhyme and Sketch. She was deported, Trudel Bessag was deported from Baden-Baden in the fall of 1940, together with her grandmother, mother, aunt, and 3 sisters, all of whom were in the same barrack with her. And she turns to visual storytelling over the course of 14 two-page spreads. She records the indignities of daily life in the camp on the left side, and on the right side, she imagines life as it should be. So her title actually lays out this kind of opposition or this juxtaposition. between two possibilities. The subtitle is rhyme and sketch. So here she's really emphasizing that she's going to be creating a word image or an image text that is a kind of hybrid status, combining words and pictures. Besags is one of only a few little-known graphic narratives created by Jewish women during the Holocaust, whereas literary narratives and written diaries are well known by scholars and well represented in scholarship. To date, the visual storytelling has eluded critical analysis. So my talk is going to examine several handmade albums made by German, Slovakian, Hungarian, and Polish German and Polish Jewish women in Gurs, in Lviv Ghetto, in Theresienstadt, Bergen-Belsen, and the Auschwitz subcamp of Roscoe. They were made by women, and they focus on the relationships between women, and they were created for women without exception. They highlight the importance of friendship, familial support, and mutual assistance as survival strategies, without even exploring, as we will in a moment, their style and their story, their form and their content. I think that you can see that their material qualities speak volumes about their lives in extremis, like miniature keepsakes or portable souvenirs. Many are small enough to fit in the palm of your hand or in your pocket, and they were light enough to hide and to transport, to share and exchange as gifts, really, between inmates, records of friendship, but also of important events and shared experiences, as well as mementos of past lives that they had and lost, and hopes for a better future. There are, in fact, many different kinds of books created in the camps, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through a few of them. This is a memory book made in Ravensbrück, a little teeny booklet made by a young teenager from Kovno who was sent to Struthof, and from there was sent to Auschwitz, and she makes this little memory booklet to take with her, and these are some of the pages inside of it. There's also what I would call a kind of birthday booklet. This is a heart-shaped birthday card that was given to Vanya Feiner, or Landau is her maiden name, when she turned 20 years old in Auschwitz. It was given to her by her sisters in the Union Work munitions factory in Auschwitz. And of course, one of our members has written about Tosia, or Teofila Reich-Reinitsky, who created a satirical album in the Warsaw Ghetto that forms part of the Emanuel Ringelblum Oneg Shabbat archive. But I'm not interested in these kinds of albums. The books that I'm interested in are about, they create a narrative. They have a kind of storytelling element to it, what Tom Gunning calls the art of succession. And this recourse to narrative, linking events and things together, literalizes the victim's attempt to hold it together and control their own sense of time, if only in the space of artistic creation, when they were denied this very agency under conditions of Nazi oppression. Of course, the most famous graphic narrative of the time was made by Charlotte Salomon, Life or Theater, but it was elaborated over the span of an entire year spent in protected seclusion, uninterrupted focus. But within the camps and ghettos, with their presence under siege and their futures in question, artists didn't have this luxury. So there are a wide variety of genres here, and that they're adopting and adapting from cartoons and animal fables, but also from medieval books of hours. that are, as we'll see, kind of creating these picture stories. I see them as a form of two functions of visual witnessing, but also of imaginative resistance. So these give us insight into their material realities, but they also give us insight into their emotional attachments and their psychological states. I'll start with Besag. She's juxtaposing on these two facing pages, not how it will be or how it could be, but how it should be in an ideal world made right. And on the cover, she's got this kind of single gray barrack on the left in the sunken valley under these ballooning rain clouds. And on the right, this brightly colored castle that's perched on a hill with the sun shining above, and the outline of the Pyrenees. So the inner pages repeat this kind of pictorial juxtaposition, but there are also underneath each image these two quatrains of rhyming verse that respond to and flip the first. So I'm just not going to read the text. You can do that yourselves, but you can see this kind of conceit that she's using instead of bed bugs, rats, and fleas, and lice, a lovely pet bird that sings sweetly instead of watery soup from a can of steel and crust of bread, the chance to eat a plate of baked potato and steak and some angel cake for dessert. And she goes on and on throughout, showing us how far her current life is from her past life. So yes, the abasement of the prisoners' current lives and their former identities and realities. What she's doing is marshaling counterfactual thinking, or what we call alternate history, as a way to reimagine the present. And according to Andrew Gordon, there are three variations of alternate history. There's time travel, anomaly, and the strategy that she uses, parallel worlds. So this rhetorical device really relies on the friction between. She's using the counterfactual to counter the fact of her imprisonment through art and imagination. But what really renders this work poignant for me is that both the world that is and the world as it should be were actually real. She's not conjuring up this imaginary space, but one that existed outside the camp for non-Jews, for non-Jews and deprived, and something that she no longer could inhabit. So if we think about this in relation to Charlotte Salomon's life or theater, which also has this either or, right? Which was, by the way, prompted by her internment in Gurs and begun immediately after her release, we can say that whereas life or theater poses two questions, life, ? Or theater in the title alone, of a choice to be made, with all the agency that implies, how it is, but how it should be, insists that we shuttle between these oppositions. So I call this, instead of the world upside down, the world side by side, and really showing us the gulf between the past and the present, but also between visual documentation and imaginative recreation. Her narrative is not crafted as an autobiography. There are no identifiable self-portraits. This allows, and she speaks all the time about we, and I think that this allows the readers, and it was actually gifted to not just one person, but to many people in her barrack. She made copies of it, to see themselves in this experience, right? To see this as a kind of collective experience, to create identification with the reader. Historical research on the women's art in the camps has tended to essentialize and romanticize the female experience. stressing above all female solidarity and mutual assistance. Besag's booklet is one of the few that I know of that actually describes the less than model behavior between inmates under conditions of duress. And she really lays bare some of these uglier truths of camp life. So although she's showing the domestic activities of women preparing, doing chores and preparing food and so on, she's also showing us that familial relationships and friendships are really being tested and strained. So she's calling for civility and cooperation and showing inmates how far they have deviated from cultural norms and mores. She says how the women push and swarm to the stove where it is warm, and how when people line up half a mile to tickets to another aisle, they're called îlots. They curse and are most uncouth to the guy who rules the booth. So she's showing this breakdown in altruistic behavior and civility, and really reminding people how life should be, how they should behave. Like Rosenthal, who's very well known, who created 3 albums in Gurs, these are 3 of his albums, Besag is really rallying what we just heard about in the talk about Germain Tillon, the energies of laughter, right? What Terence Dupre calls the energies of laughter as a weapon of resistance that refuses to take the Holocaust on its own crushing terms. So the details are not a laughing matter, but she uses rhyme and the beat of the verse and this kind of incongruity theory that creates a kind of light tone to it. Besag's narrative ends on the right here with the dream of freedom. You see the 2 women facing out onto the sea. Their backs are to us, and they're looking out onto a ship that is approaching the shore, this desire for escape. It's important to say that Besag's book was a gift. It was intended for the head of the barrack, Rosa Hirschbruch, on the occasion of her 65th birthday on July 20th, 1941. And actually on one copy, all of the inmates in the barrack actually signed it to their dear barrack leader. And she made other copies, as I've said. So like all gifts, Besag's carried the burden of obligation for each one of its readers to themselves create or imagine their own versions of how life should be. And I'll just end with this discussion about Besag here, another birthday gift that she gave in Gurs to a very important Swiss nurse named Elsbeth Kasser, who actually salvaged many works of art from the camp. And Besag actually gives her this present, depicts herself almost like Atlas, kind of straining under the weight of the camp barrack. She's literally kind of like holding up, shouldering the weight of the world, and really suggesting a sense of acute responsibility that she felt to uphold her value systems and support those in the barrack with her through her art. Another little booklet made in Gurs that is of these 2 options, how it is and how it should be, is Liesel Feltenthal's Gurs 1940, This Is How It Is. She's really interested in recreating a kind of, from dawn to dusk, from hour to hour, recreating one day within the camp, a daily routine of an inmate over a 24-hour period with these 18 different watercolor and ink paintings, and each has a little caption beneath it. The only place that she reveals how dark it is on the cover here, that you can see the black brushstrokes and the camp's muddy embankment. But once opened, you have this kind of vivid color, and each page kind of progresses. The suggestion here is that this is not just one day, but that every day in the camp follows the same kind of routine. There's this kind of loop that she's showing here. And so even despite this kind of economy of means, it's very expressive and resembles a kind of illustrated diary, right? A book of hours that shows us her activities. Another in this mode was made by Zusa Mreni. She was born Susanne Schuler in Germany. She was deported from Budapest in December of 1944 with her sister, and they were placed in the Hungarian camp, or a kind of exchange camp within Bergen-Belsen, and it's there that she creates this diary with drawings for between December and June of 1945, when she finally, starts to make her return to Budapest. Her mother was in the Budapest ghetto at this time, and she keeps this. She brought with her a pocket calendar and began recording these more than 200 individual images on 32 pages of this period. So she's only 19, like Liesl Felsenthal, very young, and she is able to do this because the Hungarian camp had a somewhat privileged status within. You can see here this kind of comic book style, and in other pages here, she describes how she had decided to draw this as a record to show her mother, when they returned to Budapest, what had happened to them. And she tried to draw something every single day, but she says that she specifically tried to draw out the parts that were really cruel and difficult, so that her mother wouldn't have the pain of seeing what they had actually gone through. She becomes a very, very famous. She survives. They're sent to Theresienstadt at the liquidation of the exchange camp. They're sent to Theresienstadt, and she survives and becomes a very important choreographer in post-war Hungary. The other one in this mode is Elbeta Nadel, or Elisheva Landau, after she immigrated to Israel. Her images from home, 18 sketches from nature, which was made in or right outside of the Lviv ghetto in 1942. This is in the collection of the Polin Museum, and really quite a treasure. Like Liesl Felsenthal's work, this is not a life story, but a day in the life. It charts her daily activities in her enclosed space of her home, and she maps space and marks time, progressing again from morning to dusk and to evening after work, and we follow her and her immediate nuclear family in their daily activities. On the front, she's got this chamber pot and a broom, which I feel like signifies a desire to kind of, her activities, her chore in the home, but also this desire to kind of sweep the, excuse my English, the shit of life away. But the subtitle is very important, Sketches from Nature. She's insisting upon this as a kind of documentary eyewitnessing, recording her life naturalistically. And I'll just show some of these, but it's really interesting that the captions are where you see irony and sarcasm. So she says that her daily walk to the bathroom down the hall is a daily stroll. And she makes these kind of sarcastic comments about the kitchen with all the, the junk piling up as nice and things like that. And also creates this, this kind of map of their residence, of their home, really drawn to scale, so that it would serve a kind of mnemonic function, I think, in the future, a visual reminder of a difficult time and a difficult place. What nobody really focuses on is the back cover, where she's painted her authorial monogram, the EN, inside of this large rust-colored Jewish star, as a reminder that she was enclosed and circumscribed within a ghetto and defined by her identity as a Jewish woman under Nazi rule. Like Felsenthal and even Trudel-Bessag, she is in this perpetual present. Nadel ends with the creation of the booklet with herself at dusk after the chores of the day are done, and thus like this perfect circle closed, much like the last panel of Charlotte Salomon's Life or Theater, where she is sitting at her drawing table and beginning the work at hand, the creation of this booklet. These stories all constitute what literary scholar Jennifer Senor calls an act of writing in the days rather than of the days. They're suspended in this precarious present with no knowledge of the future. And there's this kind of holding pattern where they are keeping time and piecing it back together. I find that very moving. A very different kind of mode is taken by Helga Wolfenstein-King. This is a little booklet which was just donated to Yad Vashem about last year by the daughters of the artist. It's called The Optimistic Frog. It's about yay big, can really fit in the palm of your hand. And she creates this while she was deported to Theresienstadt in December 1941. And she's using an animal fable. Think of mouse, right? Art Spiegelman's Mouse. It's relayed in a sequence of small vignettes with these whimsical kind of animated figures. You can see the thread and how it's made. Like it's very moving to me how much time and care was taken in the creation of this material object. Like Felsenthal and Bessag, who were both aided by the Red Cross personnel who supplied material to them, Wolfenstein worked in the technical department in Theresienstadt, and she had access to materials. So you can kind of get a sense of this. It opens with these two frogs who are thrown upside down into this bowl of milk with their legs frantically kind of flailing in the air, and, quote, no reed or cane to save them. Now, one gives in and begins to drown, but the other, quote, had to rely on himself alone and used his legs to beat the cream into stone-hard butter, allowing him thus to kind of escape out of the bowl. She's giving us this allegory of optimism and determination through these anthropomorphized frogs in this kind of cartoon style. And they have these really endearing kind of anime eyes. The reader is rooting for their success and survival. And really the moral here is keep your chin up, keep your head above water, keep your legs moving, even if it feels like you're drowning or treading in place. This book is a reminder to look on the bright side of things, to make lemonade out of lemons or butter out of milk. But the very fact that she made it, I think, suggests that either she or the person for whom it was intended was in dire need of the reminder.
Can you please conclude?
Yes, 2 minutes. The frog, proverbial frog, is really a totem of good luck. And I think it's really interesting that the frog is an amphibian, which kind of lives this double life. And that seems to me it would have been very meaningful to an inmate in Theresienstadt who would have had this need for flexibility and resilience to new conditions and environments. It ends with a plot twist. It's actually this older frog in nurse's attire, and thus most likely Helga's mother, Mina Wolfenstein, who was deported with her and worked as a nurse in the infectious disease ward of the ghetto, who's the optimistic frog and the savior. She's wearing a Jewish star on her cap, and she's pulling the younger frog to safety and brandishing this happy ending. This is a kind of optimism that's a survival tactic that saves the day and the disaster at hand. I'm just going to scroll through Eva Gabani's Almanac of Memories from Roscoe in Auschwitz-Birkenau. that was made, and I'll scroll through this and really just say, you know, that the happy ending here, this kind of it's not a miraculous deus ex machina intervention, but really it's the friends, the mothers, the sisters that rescue one another, the importance of friendship and emotional support, and the importance, as Elsbeta Nadel shows us, of the quiet power of art making and storytelling as a refuge. So yeah, I have a lot more to say, but I will just end with the fact that these really precious kind of few graphic narratives are a painful reminder of the countless stories that were never made, or those that were made and lost to history by Jewish women caught in the vise of the Nazis' final solution. And I really think that they require us to revise or to challenge, you know, the status quo of Holocaust studies, but also some of the broader assumptions about gender and about the value of material objects, material culture, and visual culture in our study of this. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Since we are really late, we are going to have only about 5 or 6 minutes for questions. So if anyone has a question to our speakers, please. If not, I have 2 questions. First of all, I would like to ask Rachel, from where did they have the materials? Because you showed us a picture drawn with colorful crayons. Where from? And
Right.
also the papers, and how did the materials survive?
Yeah, this is a very good question. As I mentioned, Wolfenstein worked in the technical department. She had access to these things. And, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, Leo
But the
Haas.
others?
Yeah, many other artists that worked with her, that she actually had romantic relationships with. But and in Gore's, the artists were in a rather kind of privileged position because they were given materials by the Red Cross in order to kind of quell boredom and you know, keep them occupied. We know that, I mean, there are countless ones of these, but Elsbeth Kasser, whose collection in the archive in Zurich, there are countless objects that she saved with her, that she brought with her. The young woman that I didn't talk about in the subcamp of Auschwitz-Birkenau, Roscoe, she also worked in a unit that had access to pens and paper and crayons and watercolors and things like that. So these things could be procured. The question of how they were saved, I mean, what I didn't say was that the happy ending actually of my presentation is that all of these women survived, and with them the books. So they were able to either take the books out with them when they were liberated or when they were rescued. And it's really thanks to that we have these kind of precious mementos of this time.
Thank you very much. I see 2 questions. Dalit, would you like to?
Yes, thank you so much. Absolutely exceptional presentations. Thank you for this. I have 2 quick questions. The first one for the first presenter, Dr. Grądzka-Rejak. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. Quick question for you. I have to say that I was quite surprised to hear about this functioning pharmacy during the ghetto period. And I'm wondering, how was this pharmacy functioning in the ghetto throughout the ghettoization period? It's just very curious to me that this would happen.
Shall I answer now?
Yes, but very briefly because people are leaving us. We are
Yeah,
very
it's
late.
it's a very good question. Thank you for that. And this is a very long story to say because the Pankiewicz got permission for Germans to have a pharmacy inside the ghetto. The official reason was to protect both Jewish community from the typhus and other diseases because Germans were afraid to spread the diseases outside of the ghetto. That was the official reason. If there were any other reasons behind leaving this pharmacy in the ghetto, I have no idea. And Pankiewicz doesn't mention any others. And the pharmacy, the story is even more complicated. He functioned even after the ghetto was liquidated. The ghetto, as I mentioned, was liquidated in March 1943. But this whole area was not given back to the city. It was still covered with the wall and with the fences. And Pankiewicz was still inside the ghetto and supported those who went to the ghetto. I mean, the prisoners mostly from the Płaszów camp, which was on the surrounding of Kraków city. And he was able to give some medicaments. He was not working like 8 hours or something, only a few hours per day, but he was still operating in this enclosed area until September or October 1943. So that's how can I answer now for this only few minutes.
Thank you very much, Martina. I see one hand. So
Sorry,
please,
I
I'm
just
not
went-
going to give you all
Okay.
the second questions because another person would like to ask also, and we are very, very behind time. Yes, Rudolph, did I say?
Joanne Rudolph.
Okay, can you please ask your question?
Okay, I have a quick question for Lillian Steiner and a quick question for Rachel.
No, only one, so
One?
choose
Okay.
to whom.
Okay, so Lillian, you showed a photograph of Tillion. It appeared to be a photograph of her in concentration camp
Yes.
garb and star. I'm wondering about the source of that.
I just found it. I don't know, but she was very active after she was liberated, and there's also a museum, the Musée de l'Homme. They collected all her documents, and she was a very well-known person when
But
she was deported.
But it appeared to be taken in Ravensbrück.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So how is that obtained? You don't know.
I have no idea.
It's not from a dramatization, like a film or something that was.
No. It's her, and no, I wouldn't put it. No, it's
No, I'm curious about the provenance of that photograph.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one question to Lillian as well.
Yes.
Is it possible somewhere to listen to the whole operetta?
Yes, you can find it.
Performed?
Yes, it was first performed in 2007, 1 year before she passed away. She died at the age of 100.
Wow.
Yes. And,
okay.
Okay.
So thank you very much for all our speakers. I'm sorry that we are in such a hurry to finish up, but slowly our listeners are disappearing. Of course, everyone is more than welcome to ask our speakers individually questions if you have. And I all hope to see you all in good health and good spirits in 2 months in our next panel. Have a safe evening and all the very best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.